Follow us on social media, Twitter and Instagram. Subscribe on YouTube. Don't forget to like. Over the past few weeks, I did a lot of reviews on the previous Nosferatus, and during this whole time, I kept on thinking to myself, am I ruining the new film for myself, having absorbed these different versions of Nosferatu? And the answer is no. I'm actually glad I did this Nosferatu marathon before watching this new one, even though, because I thought that just having too much narrative information was going to spoil the movie for me after watching the 3 other versions. But I think that the narrative changes in Robert Eggers' Nosferatu are far superior than obviously the 70s version. As you may know if you've seen my other reviews, the 70s version is definitely not in my list of Nosferatus that I would ever give a rewatch. And there was definitely people in the comments that were upset about my review for the 1979 version. But Robert Eggers really just does make a superior remake. It's visually beautiful, much like the Bram Stoker Dracula from the 90s. And the heavy breathing from Nosferatu in this version is not annoying like in the 79 version. The thing that really helps sell it too, that really doesn't make the breathing annoying like the 1979 version, is that the voice and vocal training that Bill Skarsgård went through for this role, his performance is much more menacing. He's actually evil. I don't want to spoil the whole movie, but we are going to get into some slight spoilers after this commercial shout out. Support American craftsmanship when you buy the Stars and Stripes Freedom Deck. From coast to coast, only available in the USA. Available from La Casa Loca on eBay and Etsy. Alright, from my speculations video, I was talking about how much more involved I believed that Emma's character would have. And immediately from the beginning of the film, I love how they create a stronger connection of Emma's character to Nosferatu. The backstory that they build to give Nosferatu that much more motive to return to Wisborg, I thought was a really great addition to the narrative. I also like how we too get the expanded relationship backstory with Emma and Thomas. You know, they're newlyweds and pretty much at the end of their honeymoon, where Thomas now has to go to work, where we meet with Knock, and there's an advancement on his promotion storyline. Because even though he's being promoted, he's getting an extra opportunity from Knock as a newlywed man. Even Thomas is a bit hesitant about his new task to leave Wisborg to go to Transylvania for this job. And I like how, unlike the other previous versions, Thomas is trying to make it work in a way where he can still stay in Wisborg to work so that his wife is not so concerned about him leaving so soon. And Knock's involvement too, I love how he's just portrayed more as a dedicated disciple to a demon. You know, obviously the demon being Nosferatu. I just really love how Nosferatu is so much more supernatural, much more paranormal. Because in the previous films, his presence is very strong. You could tell that he's going to have an effect on the town and his antagonizing of Thomas. But in this film, it is so much more supernatural. Like I said, he feels like a demon. Also, too, with the Hardings, we got Friedrich and Anna. And what I really loved about the addition to their involvement to the story is that they're actually a growing family. You know, they got these daughters. I don't know if they're twins, but they have these 2 daughters and they have another child on the way. So it gives the stakes for the Harding family higher consequences for their involvement with the Hutters. And it's so heartbreaking just what happens to that family as a result of them just being within proximity to Emma and Thomas and getting lost into this conflict between Nosferatu and his desire for Emma. The innkeepers too, I thought were going to have much more involvement in the story just based off of the trailer. I mean, I know you only see them for a few seconds in the trailer, but I do like what they did with the innkeepers to set up a little bit of seeds in Thomas's mind as to how to deal with vampires, because we get the same thing where they're warning him about his desire to go to the castle of Count Orlok, but we also get to see them in action confirming their superstitions, dealing with evil. That seed gets planted into Thomas's mind about the vampire slaying scene. And as soon as we get that, it kind of becomes this inevitable journey to Count Orlok's castle. But it's like a dream. It's kind of like a nightmare for Thomas. To sum up the series of events, in the previous movies, you just see him kind of ignore their warnings about, hey, don't go to Transylvania. Do not go to Count Orlok's castle. You're going down a dark path. Whereas in this film, he is literally experiencing a journey down a dark path. So we start with the innkeepers slaying this vampire. And then from there, it's like he wakes up and it was a dream. But then he looks down at his feet and they're covered in dirt. So I think he really did go and witness this. And then from there, the inn is just completely desolate. It's like no one was there and he stayed in a ghost town or something. But from there, he's then down this dark path, this dark road, and a chariot comes and the door to the chariot, as it opens, it kind of just inevitably, there's no resisting for Thomas. He's just drawn into the chariot, leading him to the castle. And then when he ends up in the castle, it just is so nightmarishly fantastical. And it just feels like there was never any option for him. Like he had no free will to end up at Nosferatu's castle. So I just really like how they kind of shortened the journey. It's not that they shortened it, but they shortened the way that it was told narratively, how he gets from the inn to the castle. And I just thought it was also just so visually interesting. The whole movie is just a visual masterpiece. But another change too that I was really curious about was the locket, Thomas's locket of Emma, and how just the mere presence of it has a scent because she cuts a couple locks of her hair and puts it in the locket. And that scent drew attention from Nosferatu. And he kept the locket too. I like how he keeps the locket because in the other films, he doesn't keep it. He just is infatuated with it. But I like how in this film, he actually keeps it to keep her scent with him so he can find her much more easily. It just feels like a stronger narrative tool for him to be drawn closer to her. Another change in the castle too that I really enjoyed was when Thomas reveals Nosferatu in his tomb when he's sleeping in his coffin and he attempts to slay him there in his sleep. And it just shows how much more unstoppable that Nosferatu is, that even when he tried to slay him in his sleep, he was destined to fail. Like Nosferatu was not having none of that. He's like, no, bro, you can't just slay me in my sleep. Okay, I'm Nosferatu. The only thing that I was kind of looking forward to but didn't get was the ship sequence. I was hoping they would expand that, but I think with all of the material, the new narrative material they give us in this remake, I wasn't disappointed with not having a longer ship sequence, because that's something I was hoping going into the film. I was hoping there was going to be a longer ship sequence, but it was about the same as the first film. But yeah, and then obviously the ending is pretty much the same as the other films, but I do like how about the ending of this film versus the previous ones is that instead of Emma just falling into this situation where she's like, okay, I'm going to have to just trap him into my bedroom until sunrise, because it seems like in the previous films, the sacrifice that she makes isn't as impactful as this film. Because in this film, much like a demon or the devil, Nosferatu wants her to make the choice willingly. Because the devil and any demon doesn't just take from you. They want you to make the choice willingly, especially if they know it's something that you don't want. Instead of taking something by force, they quite literally want you to choose your own demise. And I love that that's how Count Orlok put Emma in this situation. Like, I'm going to ruin your life, but you can choose to submit to me, in which case her life is going to be ruined anyways. But I just love how there was a difficult decision for her to make. And so it gives her sacrifice a lot more impact, in my opinion, for this film. But anyways, I am very happy with this remake. It's one of the few films I think that a remake definitely was warranted. And I'm glad with what we got as a result. Follow us on Twitter at Ghettoplex_MP4, on Instagram at Ghettoplex.mp4, and subscribe to us on YouTube at Ghettoplex. Support independent business and buy the Stars and Stripes Freedom Deck. Poker for Patriots. Ships exclusively in the USA.